On the KREF app.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I'm wearing a tie today, folks. You know what that means. Signing day is upon us.
Now, this is the first signing day I've ever done with you. Is this an annual thing that you will wear a shirt and tie and be suited and booted for signing day?
I mean, not intentionally. It's not as if that is the reason I'm wearing it. It's mostly because I'm dressed for the OUinsider.com signing day special tonight, which, by the way, shameless plug, folks. If you don't already plan on tuning in, you should. It's going to air live on the OU Insider YouTube channel from 7 to 10 p.m. We're going to have an in-depth breakdown of every single signee in Oklahoma's 2026 haul. We're going to interview over a third of the class. There are going to be 9 live interviews with members of the Sooners' latest group of recruits. And really, it is the magnum opus for us at OU Insider. It's a show that we pour a lot of effort and time and manpower into every single year. So it's going to be hosted live at Campus Corner. I'm sorry, not Campus Corner, Coach's Corner. It's going to be hosted live at Coach's Corner on Lindsay Street. It's where Penny Hill used to be. If you're not yet familiar with Coach's Corner, you should be. Great place out there, run by Corey and Terry Wilson. Delicious food. They're running a special tonight in celebration of signing day. 20 wings for $20. We're going to be out doing the show live at Coach's Corner at 7 p.m. So if you're in the area, you want to come out, you want to watch the show live, by all means do so. But if not, certainly tune in on the OU Insider YouTube channel. Now, I am Parker Thune. He is Grayson Singleton. And we're going to dive into this signing class and all of the cogs therein throughout the show here on Locked In. We only have an hour, so we're going to do thumbnail sketches of each of these guys. We won't go super in-depth, but want to set aside some time to talk about each of Oklahoma's 24 signees today. Before we get started, Grayson, what would you give this, if you had to assign a letter grade to this class in an overall sense, how would you grade it?
I've been thinking about this all day, and I'm going to give it an A-.
Okay.
I think you check a lot of boxes. The only reason this class is not an A, and I'm sure we're going to get into this momentarily, the only reason this class doesn't get an A is because 2 offensive linemen in a class, that's got me a little bit leery, especially when you think about it contextually with the fact that Oklahoma the last couple of years has had trouble keeping offensive linemen healthy. That is the only knock I have on this class. And, I mean, they're 2 good offensive linemen with Deacon Schmidt and Noah Best, but only two offensive linemen, that's got me a little bit concerned. Other than that, it's an A- class.
There were 2 position groups at which General Manager Jim Nagy commented earlier today that he would have liked to have taken more guys in the 2026 cycle. He said they would have liked to have another offensive lineman or 2.
Yep.
He said they would have liked to have another cornerback or 2. Derek Johnson out of the state of California, the only cornerback in the 2026 signing class for Oklahoma.
Because of the depth and the talent that you have at corner combined with youth, I don't mind that too much. Obviously, you probably would have liked 2, but I'm okay with 1 there.
Folks, before we dive into this class, I want to remind you that the show is brought to you by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. It is the holiday season, and if the holiday season has prompted you to start shopping around for a new vehicle, either to treat yourself or to gift to a loved one, go give Dorsey Jones a look. GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today, and Dorsey Jones, which has been family-owned and operated for many, many years, offers fantastic service as well, including their half-price oil changes on Saturdays. What were you laughing at?
James on the YouTube chat sees your fit and says, Parker's a Gryffindor, always too horn for a Hufflepuff.
I have no idea what that means.
Have
None
you never
whatsoever.
seen Harry Potter?
Never seen Harry Potter, bro.
Man.
Listen.
Parker.
I watch football. I cover football. My life is pretty consumed by the sport of football.
You didn't watch it as a kid?
No. I've always been a sports guy, man.
I mean, as am I.
Sports and music and chess. Those are my things.
Funny you bring up music on Spotify Rap Day.
That's right. I did tap through my Spotify Wrapped earlier. It was
Did you?
interesting. Yeah, 405-651-3439 is how you interact with us on the show via the text line. But let's go through this. Let's go through this one signee at a time here, Grayson. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Feels only right that you start with the guy that many would consider the cornerstone of the class, and that is, of course, four-star quarterback Bo Bentley. Undefeated in his career as a starter at Salina High, the number 6 quarterback in this 2026 cycle, according to the Rivals industry rankings. The Sooners had to have him. They got him. They beat out LSU, beat out, at the time, Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan to bring Bentley home, essentially replaced Jaden O'Neal with Bentley at the core of their 2026 class. And this is a guy that's just kind of a very natural fit for everything that Ben Arbuckle wants to do.
And that's the appropriate term there, is that he's Ben Arbuckle's guy. Arbuckle handpicked him and said, Jaden O'Neal's probably not going to be the guy that I like. Give me Bo Bentley. And they were able to lock it down with a kid who grew up wanting to be a Sooner. You didn't mess it up there. You got him on campus, impressed him enough. And then also he was able to do some peer recruiting for the latter stages of the cycle as well. Really good player, athletic, dual threat. Going to be a fun one.
4-star running back Jonathan Hatton out of San Antonio, Texas, Cibolo Steele High School. This is what an NFL back looks like. And I'm not going to do player comps for all these guys. If you have any, Grayson, by all means offer them. But I will say, to me, Jonathan Hatton, and people will like this comp, I think, he's Ramondre Stevenson with more burst. Because he's a big old boy.
He's huge.
6'1", 220 pounds, so he's a big, bulky back. He's a bouncy runner, absorbs contact well, demonstrates good balance, but he can run away from a defense as well. This was a huge flip for Oklahoma after he initially committed to OU, flipped to Texas A&M, and wound up bringing it full circle back with the Sooners about 2 weeks before signing day.
Yeah, no doubt. And Ramondre with more burst, I think is spot on. I mean, because you think of an OU back with that kind of build in recent memory, your mind probably goes to Ramondre Stevenson. So he's one of the guys in the class that I think has the biggest, and you and I have talked about this, he has the biggest gap between ceiling and floor. That's what Jonathan Hatton is to me in this class. So it'll be curious to see how he develops, if he's able to add more size to his frame, because he's already pretty filled out. So that's going to be an intriguing one to watch.
To me, the other running back in the class, 3-star DeZephan Walker out of Raymore, Missouri, is a guy that has a lot of Tory Blaylock in him, in the sense that I think he could show up and really outpace expectations. Last year when Tory Blaylock signed, I don't think anybody was saying, oh, yeah, that's the guy that's going to lead Oklahoma in rushing as a true freshman, but that's what Tory Blaylock is doing. Similarly, when you look at Walker's tape, man, I don't think there's nothing – he doesn't necessarily have a calling card. He doesn't have 4.3 speed. He's not one of those guys like Hatton that's, 220, 225 pounds and just bowling over dudes. But at about 5'10", 185 pounds, he's just a really consistent, really instinctual, really well-rounded back that does everything at a high level.
A well-rounded back and a good player. And because of what you said about him not really having a calling card, I wonder where he's going to fit into the running back room as his career goes on. Because Hatton, we know what he brings to the table. You've got a guy like Tory Blaylock, who's only a true freshman. So where does DeZephan Walker fit in the calculus of everything, I think is going to be the question when observing DeMarco Murray's room in the near future.
OU's longest tenured commit in the 2026 signing class is 3-star tight end Ryder Mix, who committed all the way back in June of 2024 and never wavered. He's a legacy whose father, Austin, pitched on the baseball team back in the early 2000s. And this is another guy that, kind of like Walker, man, he's just a really consistent, really solid overall football player. He's going to do all that playing the tight end position requires. There's actually a lot of physical similarity to Jaron Kanik. Mix is listed at 6'2", 235 pounds, so he's not huge. But, man, when you turn on the tape, what you see is a guy that can do everything that you want a tight end to do at a high level.
Yeah, and the upside with him is that he's a good blocker, too.
Yep.
And I know people always hear, oh, he's just really consistent, doesn't have something that flashes, right? Sometimes that's a good thing, man.
That's a great thing.
And the reason I bring that up is because I know we're going to go to Tyler Ruxer next, who has morphed into one of my favorite players in this class.
Yeah.
Combining Mix, the typical tight end, I can catch a little bit, I can block a little bit. Combining him and that consistency with Tyler Ruxer, who is a more modern tight end, more versatile type of dude, gives Ben Arbuckle a nice little 1-2 in that room. That's why we've been so high on Joe John Finley's haul, because them two, it's not just them two, it's them two together as a package deal that can present some upside.
You mentioned Ruxer, 6'4", 225 pounds, out of Lincoln City, Indiana, and Jim Nagy told an interesting story this morning with regard to how they found Ruxer. He said they were looking through track times. He said they were trying to find the fastest tight end in the country as far as track times, and that's how they stumbled upon Tyler Ruxer, who ran, according to Nagy, an 11 flat in the 100 meters. So this guy, he can move for a tight end.
And that's what you call a matchup nightmare, because he's going to be too fast for most linebackers to cover. And then we'll put a safety on him, you better hope you have a really big hybrid safety type of dude to cover him, because at 6'4", he's going to be too big for just your typical free safety to be able to handle. So I think he's going to be a weapon. I
am all in on 4-star wide receiver Jaden Petit out of Naples, Florida.
Hell yeah.
It's really hard not to love this dude. 6'4", 220 pounds. Rare tools, rare measurables. He's a guy that, Grayson, I think the pure ceiling that he brings is higher than that of any other prospect in this class.
No doubt. And you and Drum put together that column of highest ceiling, favorite addition. He is clearly the highest ceiling player in this class, and it's not close. Like, not even Jake Krell approaches what this dude could become. I mean, you're talking about a 6'4", 220-pound dude. That's Megatron that you have as a college freshman. Like, what is he going to be his junior year? So, no, man, like, as long as you can keep this dude healthy, because sometimes that's the issue with jumbo plus-size wide receivers, if you can keep him healthy and he can develop more in the route tree too, other than running stops, goes, and slants, which is most of what his tape is, and that's okay, by the way. That's okay for right now. But if you can develop him in the route tree, top 10 pick in the draft, man.
Jasir Rogers out of the state of Delaware, blue chipper who was committed to Penn State for a long, long time before Oklahoma turned him away after James Franklin's firing. He has what Mike Gundy would call the wiggle.
Yeah, the wiggle, the flash, the dash.
Explosive dude.
A very explosive dude, and a really good compliment to what they're bringing in Daniel Odom and Jaden Petit. We spent a lot of time talking about the traits that Jim Nagy likes in wide receivers. He likes big wide receivers that are 6'1" and above. Okay, let's throw Jasir Rogers in there as a little bit of a changeup, because you have to have that guy too. And especially when he is a smaller dude than the 6'1", right? But he is incredibly fast, man. So I think they've checked all the boxes at wide receiver with this dude's addition.
Daniel Odom out of California prep powerhouse St. John Bosco in Bellflower, California, is, in my opinion, the most polished of the 4 receivers that Oklahoma signed today. He's about 6'2", 190 pounds, so good size, really crisp route runner, a guy that when you turn on the tape, you just see, I think, a very high floor college football prospect.
I hate that you and I are agreeing so much in these first 14 minutes of the show, because that's exactly what I see on tape, and that's what I think what I said when I first joined the show, is that this dude's route running stands out. It looks very precise in the things that he does. So, if anything, this dude's going to be able to generate separation because he's so technically sound in that area of playing wide receiver.
Jim Nagy and Brent Venables and Emmett Jones collectively flung one at the dartboard with their only in-state signee of the 2026 cycle, that being Xavier Okafaleze out of Rejoice Christian School in Owasso, Oklahoma. Big prospect, relatively new to football, but at 6'4" and 200 pounds. He's got bounce. He's got crazy athleticism, plenty of speed in the open field. And he's going to be a bit of a project, Grayson, but you can see why everybody in the Oklahoma front office and on that staff is so excited about what he can be down the road.
Because he's got long arms and is very athletic and very fast, and he's well built. Will he become a football player? That's going to be the question. This is a dude who has naturally been a basketball player growing up, a really good one at that, talking about his athleticism. But can his body, that's still a little bit wiry, even though he's got good size on him, can that body develop just a little bit more, and can he turn into a football player is going to be the answer for him.
You mentioned Oklahoma came up a little bit short numbers-wise on the offensive line. That is true. Only 2 signees. The first of them, Oklahoma's lone signee at offensive tackle, Deacon Schmidt out of Windsor, Colorado. Behemoth of a prospect, 6'5", 310 pounds. You're not playing offensive tackle at 6'1", but chose Oklahoma over Colorado, over Alabama, over Nebraska, over Tennessee. He generated a ton of interest coast to coast. Easy to see why. He's versatile. He's powerful. He's got really good feet and a ton of brute strength that he brings to the table.
If Michael Fasusi is still here for a senior year, that offensive line that year, which would be what, 2028, give or take? Or maybe
28,
will be Michael Fasusi on the left tackle, Ryan Foje at one of the guards, and Deacon Schmidt at right tackle.
Yeah.
And you will have one of the better tackle combinations in the country with that dude. He is he might be the most surefire bet in this entire class.
For my money, the most underrated of Oklahoma's signees is 3-star interior offensive lineman Noah Best. Originally from Owasso, played his high school ball at Midlothian down in Texas. He is 6'4", 310 pounds, and this, to me, Grayson, is the epitome of a guy that's you're just going to be able to forget about him. Throw him in the lineup, forget about him. I think he's a multi-year starter at Oklahoma. He's just a guy that's just going to handle his business quietly and effectively, and that's what you need on the interior of your offensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be a guy that, I use this term all the time, he's going to move some furniture.
Yep.
He's going to be the anchor in the middle of that offensive line. You won't have to worry about a bunch of interior pressure being generated at the quarterback with this dude. He's a mauler. He is mean and nasty. I mean, you talk about the things that we talk about with Eddie Pierre-Louis. If this goes on a little bit long, you can have Eddie Pierre-Louis, Noah Best, and Ryan Foje as your interior offensive lineman.
Oh, boy.
You're going to like that.
That is a vicious, vicious group. Oklahoma does see Best as a center, by the way, for those that are curious.
Exactly.
All right, folks, we covered a lot of ground right there. That's the whole offense. Let's talk about the defense and the lone specialist on the other side. This is Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. It's signing day. Come on back with us.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra by engineering each one to outperform your expectations. So you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
They don't want to hire you because your paper might say Oklahoma School for the Blind.
I was just completely homebound because I was always too afraid to go outside. I want to be a productive member of society, and that's what DRS has given me.
They offer you opportunities to getting a job, helping you learn how to advocate for yourself, find the best way to try living your life in the fullest way possible.
Oklahoma and DRS has been the biggest blessing in my life.
See me.
And not my disability.
Tired of feeling pressured by salespeople when shopping for auto insurance? At Right Way Insurance, there's no hard sell, just a clear, straightforward approach. We work with multiple insurance companies to give you the best options and rates with no gimmicks. You'll get the right coverage tailored to your needs, all while avoiding hidden fees and confusing policies. So if you're ready for a better experience with auto insurance, visit rightwayinsuranceok.com or call 405-607-6014 for your free quote today. Right Way Insurance, no pressure, just the right insurance for you.
When it comes to buying a home, you need a winning game plan. At Stride Bank, our mortgage team helps you get from kickoff to closing with competitive rates, local expertise, and personalized service. Whether it's your first home or your forever home, we'll be right there on the field with you. Learn more at StriveBank.com. Strive Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Strive Bank on your team since 1913 with Oklahoma roots and nationwide reach. Built for success? How about Built by Law? Law Custom Homes and Construction is here to build your next home. With over 30 years of experience, Barry and Angela Law pride themselves on building the best quality homes in Norman. Locally owned and operated, Law Custom Homes and Construction can also help you with carpet, tile, siding, windows, granite, and roofing. Don't wait. Call Barry Law at 405-919-7118 and let Law Custom Homes build your next quality home. That's 405-919-7118. At Primrose Funeral Service, we have been compassionately serving families for over 80 years. Do your loved ones a favor by pre-planning your funeral and cemetery arrangements. With pre-planning, Primrose can help eliminate the difficult decisions at a difficult time, because nobody should plan for a loss at the same time they are experiencing one. Our sincere commitment is to make things a little easier for you and your family. So contact Primrose Funeral Service at 405-321-6000 or visit them online at primrosefuneralservice.com.
Looking for a company that can do both pest control and lawn care? Look no further than Atlas Pest Control and Atlas Lawn Care. Locally owned and trusted since 1959, serving Edmond, Yukon, Newcastle, Blanchard, Midwest City, Norman, Moore, Del City, and the OKC area. Atlas has complete pest and lawn coverage all in one place. Call today for your no-obligation quote and experience service from professionally trained technicians who care about your property as much as you do. Atlas Pest Control and Lawn Care, 405-321-4643. Looking for a great place to stay this football season? Courtyard Marriott Norman offers affordable and stylish accommodations featuring an on-site bar and bistro and classic Southern hospitality. They're conveniently located off of I-35 and West Robinson Street, close to shopping and dining options, and provide easy access to local attractions such as Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. Courtyard Norman. Call today, 405-701-8900.
Continuing to break down Oklahoma's 2026 signing class here on Locked In, Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. Oklahoma finalizing the additions earlier today of 24 new members of the OU football family. We talked about the offense last segment. We're going to dive into the defense next. And the first signee that we're going to discuss on that side of the ball, Grayson Singleton, is Oklahoma's highest-ranked signee regardless of position, and that, of course, is four-star defensive end Jake Krell, originally from Orlando, Florida, prepped at IMG Academy, and you want to talk about, a roaring, relentless motor.
Yeah.
This dude's got one of those, but also, as Jim Nagy talked about this morning, he's also a supreme athlete. Only 6'2" and about 225 pounds, but what he lacks in measurables, much like our Mason Thomas, he makes up for in athleticism and technique and sheer willpower.
Can Oklahoma three-peat with this guy? And here's what I mean by can Oklahoma three-peat. They did it with Nick Benito.
Yep.
They did it with our Mason Thomas. Can they make a high-round pick out of a third consecutive undersized pass rusher? That'll be interesting to see. But Jake Krell, if there's a dude that could do it, it is certainly him because of that motor and the relentlessness and the violence at which he plays the game. So, which Jim Nagy was talking about earlier today, they recruited guys on defense that were violent. So, that
all three of those guys you mentioned from the state of Florida, by the way.
This is also true.
The timing lines up perfectly. Our Mason Thomas got to town right as Nick Benito was moving on, and Jake Krell will get to town right as our Mason Thomas is moving on. However, I will say this. Another guy that could very much fit that bill and develop into a monster under Miguel Chavis's tutelage is another defensive end signee from the state of Florida that has gotten less press than Jake Krell, but in my mind has a ceiling that's every bit as high, and that's Daniel Norman.
Yeah.
Out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale. Committed to Oklahoma after just one visit. All he needed was his OV in June to know that OU was the place he wanted to be. This dude is a killer.
Mm-hmm.
Man, 6'4", 230, 235 pounds-ish. And, man, he is so refined as a pass rusher. He can set the edge against the run. He's a very complete defensive end prospect and the type of dude that even though he doesn't fit the same physical mold perhaps as a guy like Benito or a guy like R. Mason Thomas or a guy like Jay Crowell, he's a little bit bigger. Man, I find myself increasingly more and more in love with the prospect of what Daniel Norman could become at OU.
He could be a higher draft pick than Jake Crowell.
He could.
He very well could. The measurables give him a little bit of a head start. Can he, because he's already so good with the already ready-made body, can he become an All-American type player? I think that's the question now with a dude who already checks those other two boxes. Can he elevate so much along with his already natural physical profile to be an All-SEC, All-American type of player, especially with this system?
If we're talking pure ceiling, amongst Oklahoma's 3 defensive end signees, there is none with a pure ceiling that rivals that of Matthew Nelson out of Bryant, Arkansas. 4-star. This was a guy that Oklahoma prioritized very early on in the process. He did not have much more, 1 or 2 other P4 offers at the time. Oklahoma loved him. Oklahoma made him an early focus in the 26 cycle, locked him down, kept him locked down even after Alabama came sniffing and poking around. 6'5", 230 pounds, and still very raw, Grayson, but kind of like Okafaleze on the offensive side. If you can hammer out some of the imperfections in his game over his first couple of years on campus, you could have a demon on your hands.
Yeah, and I like takes like these. Obviously, you want a mix of the dudes that we know, okay, these are really good football players, and how about we take one more? How about we take another dude who could become a really good football player, and he's got the traits for us to build upon. There's already a solid foundation there, right, with his athletic profile. So, yeah, take this dude, twitchy athlete, needs a lot of refining, but the upside, I think, is well worth the take, even though he's not a perfect football player just yet.
I think Sooner Nation's going to fall in love pretty quickly with 3-star defensive tackle Brian Harris out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Have they not already?
I hope so, man. Great personality, awesome kid. Just very vociferous, very outgoing, very exuberant type of dude, but also an excellent football player. 6'3", 290 pounds, light on his feet, can rush the passer, can stuff the run. This is a guy that offers early impact potential for OU.
He's going to carry the banner of the program. He's going to be a future captain. And that says a lot because you need those dudes that you know he's going to be the liaison between what the coach needs and communicating that to the players. And that's going to be Brian Harris because he is going to be that dude. He's going to be one of those dudes that you think carrying the flag running out onto the field, they're carrying the OU flag. He's going to be that type of a guy for this unit. And that's before we get to the fact that he's a really good football player. I know I left that out, but if there's one thing that stands out that I haven't said about anybody else so far, it's that dude is going to be a university banner type of guy.
Oklahoma's other defensive tackle signee, 6'1", 290 pounds out of the state of California, James Carrington. They call him Big Tank. He's a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're looking for a brawler down there in the trenches, a dude that's just going to toss bodies around and wreak havoc, you got your guy here in Tank Carrington.
Give me those one-on-ones between Tank Carrington and Noah Best.
Oh, hello.
give me all of that because Tank Carrington, he's mean dude. Mean dude. He's going to be a dude who can, clog up the middle, take up a couple of blockers, keep those linebackers clean. Very, very critical for a defense like this.
Oklahoma signed 4 linebackers. We had long talked about the 26 cycle as a cycle where they needed to load up at linebacker, and they certainly did. Now, that effort started with Bo Jandro out of Chandler, Arizona. He was the first commit at the position for Oklahoma. Absolute missile, man. He plays the game with desire. He and his twin brother Nico, whom we'll discuss here in a second, very similar prospects in the sense that, A, they're really muscled up, very physically developed. Mm-hmm. Jerry Schmidt won't have to do a ton of work with those guys, but they're also intelligent, instinctual, and they will lay the wood.
Yeah, good kids too. But the main thing you got to take away from those dudes, grown-ass men. They are some grown men at 18 years old. Now, we got a question on the YouTube chat, and I do think this is fair. Big Cheeto asks, what is the take on the Jandro brothers? Freaks in the gym, does it translate to the field film? Yes, it does, but there is a thing with guys who are that big coming out of high school, right? You do have to worry about, okay, how much more development is there going to be? Will they, cap out at a time where other people are still getting bigger, and do you kind of see your play drop off there? That is a reasonable concern for guys who are this big and look like this at 18 years old. But they are excellent football players and ready-made builds.
And if that's a concern, I think Jandro contrasts quite nicely with a rather underdeveloped linebacker prospect, at least physically, and that is Jacob Curry out of Nice High School in St. Augustine, Florida. This is a guy that brings a lot of versatility to the table. Realistically, he could play safety. He could play cheetah. He could play that off-ball linebacker spot, which is what Oklahoma sees him primarily doing. He's also a really good edge rusher, too, but only about 6'1", 205 pounds. So there's a lot that you'll be able to do with a guy like this in Brent Venables' scheme.
It will be interesting to see what kind of packages he is able to get in, because right now, when I watch the tape, I don't see inside linebacker. I see a dude that can play a nickel type of position and really looks more natural at safety. So, to me, it's not where he starts. It's where does he finish at? What position is he playing when he finishes at the University of Oklahoma is going to be my question with Jacob Curry.
Not one, but two cracker backers in this signing class for
Oklahoma.
Hell
yeah.
Come on. That's how Brent Venables rolls, folks. Dane Bathurst out of Carmel, Indiana, 3-star prospect. He was committed to Duke for the majority of calendar year 2025. Oklahoma got him locked in pretty late. I believe he was, with the exception of the other linebacker we're about to talk about, the last addition to the 2026 class. But this is a guy, man, that you would consider sneaky athletic. So much so that he was regarded as an edge by all major recruiting services and a lot of the schools that were pursuing his pledge, but Oklahoma sees him as an off-ball linebacker at 6'3", 230 pounds, and they're going to develop him as such.
The most intriguing prospect in the class for me is Dane Bathurst for that exact reason. He's had a lot of film and a lot of experience at edge, and now Jim Nagy has taken him and said, I see inside linebacker, which is contrary to what a lot of people thought. How does the development process go? It's easier, obviously, to just move him right back to defensive end if it doesn't work out. But I will be curious what the plan is, and I will be watching intently as to how this guy makes a transition from a position he was really good at to one that he hasn't played as much.
The final piece of the puzzle just a couple days ago for Oklahoma, the last commit prior to signing day, was 3-star linebacker Christian Moore out of Selma, Alabama. He was committed to North Alabama on basically nobody's radar. He was committed to an FCS school. Oklahoma loved him at camp over the summer, kept tabs on him, made the decision, you know what, we're going to offer this guy, but we'll wait till very late so nobody else rides our coattails. It worked very well. He got the offer on Thanksgiving Day, OV'd over the weekend, joined the class on Monday afternoon. And, man, he's a hitter, 6'2", 220 pounds, really well-developed linebacker prospect, has played defensive end in the past, so similar to Bathurst, he's another guy that Oklahoma sees as an off-ball linebacker, but that has experience getting down and dirty in the defensive trenches.
He wants to kill somebody. I mean, that's the kind of reckless abandon that he plays with while under control. Let me try to make sure that doesn't get misconstrued.
Yeah.
He is a very fast, hard-hitting, violent type of player. And I will stand by this. Reminds me of Kip Lewis. A lot of his film reminds me of number 10 on defense. So I think he's going to fit in very nicely with Brent's defense, and I think he's going to pick up the scheme very nicely as well.
Oklahoma's only cornerback signing in the 26 class, Derek Johnson out of the state of California. 4-star prospect. He's actually Oklahoma's highest-ranked defensive signee, not named Jake Krell. A lot to like about this kid, man. I think we all kind of understand what the mold looks like when we think of Jay Valai corners. And Derek Johnson certainly fits. He's the type of guy that Jay Valai has made a point to recruit.
You have Cortland Guillory on one side, and you'll have Derek Johnson on the other side.
Like that.
That's some pretty. You remember LSU's corners? We talked about this heading into the LSU game. They got some big corners. LSU did, and it showed in that game. That's what Oklahoma could potentially look like in the near future with Guillory and with Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson, 6'2", 170 pounds, really long arms, and really good tracking skills. So you combine all that together, you've got the makings of a really good corner. I'm interested to see what he becomes.
Late flip for Oklahoma from SMU, 3-star safety Markel Ford out of Mesquite, Texas. He was actually committed to Texas A&M prior to being committed at SMU. Brent Venables remarked earlier today at his press conference that Ford always wanted to be a Sooner, and it came full circle in the end. They were able to make it work, and Ford joins the class as a really, really likable overall prospect with what he brings to the table at about 6'1", 210 pounds. Good build, has experience at corner and safety. A chess piece in that defensive backfield.
Yeah, he reminds me of that little silly putty that you would always play with as a kid. You know why? Because he's moldable wherever you want to play him. You want to play him at corner? He's cool with that. You want to play him at safety? Pretty damn good at that too. Want to throw him into the slot? He can do that. He's like silly putty. No matter what the container is, he'll find a way to fit. And he's got that sort of a versatile skill set. And combined with the size and intellect to be able to do all three of those very well.
We already mentioned Nico Jandro a little bit when talking about his brother Bo, but to me, this is a guy that although he's signing with Oklahoma as a safety, you could pretty well see him shifting down to that cheetah spot and making an impact for Oklahoma down the line with his head-hunting mentality out there.
Where does he play? That's the question. Does he play safety? Does he play cheetah? Hell, does he play a little bit of linebacker in a smaller package where you want to get more speed on the field? How do you use a guy like him as well? Those are going to be a lot of the questions, and I know Pro Football Focus, they love to track players like him because they give you the breakdown of how many snaps he lined up where. He's going to be a really fun PFF type of guy.
And I know, especially after what has transpired here in the 2025 season, nobody's snickering at Oklahoma's decision to bring in a scholarship kicker. Trace Rudd out of Overland Park, Kansas, a graduate of Blue Valley Northwest High School. They're hoping this is your next Tate Sandell, right? It's kind of the same deal. He's a left-footed kicker, and, you know, kickers are kickers. You look for accuracy. You look for range. Trace Rudd has it, according to Rivals. He's the number 7 kicker prospect in the country.
He's got a lot of range. He has got a lot of range, and I've seen videos galore of this kid kicking, and if that leg only gets bigger, has there been a 60-yard field goal kicked in Oklahoma history?
There has. Tony DiRienzo, I believe, holds the school record at, I want to say, exactly 60 yards.
How long ago was that?
50 years ago-ish.
Okay.
Early 70s. If I'm not mistaken.
With this dude, you might be sweating that record.
Hey, listen, this is just the way that football is trending these days. 60-yard field goals are becoming the new 50-yard field goals. It's almost an expectation, at least at the NFL level. I have to imagine it'll seep down to the college ranks at some point too, that if you're on a roster, you can hit from 60 yards.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody on the text line said, the brain and the voice. Great show, fellas. I don't know if I'm the brain and you're the voice or if I'm the voice and you're the brain. Regardless.
And whoever's not the brain, are you calling us dumb?
A lot of insinuations you can make there. But regardless, we love this show. We love today. This show has been a fun one already. And as we've already discussed now, each of Oklahoma's 24 signees that did make it into the class, on the other side, we'll discuss some of the guys that almost made it in, but for one reason or another did not. Keep chiming in on the text line, 405-651-3439. Final segment of Locked In on the other side. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
What's your next dream? Paying off your credit card, remodeling your kitchen, exploring the rainforests of Costa Rica. Whatever your dreams, they take some planning, and State Farm agent Scott Tavares is right here in Moore to lend a hand. As your local good neighbor, he can help you look at the things you want to save for. Come up with a plan to make those savings goals happen. Because your money should work just as hard as you do to achieve your dreams. So whether it's being free of debt or free to roam the world, call State Farm agent Scott Tavares, 405-794-0020. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. No one plans for an injury, but when the worst happens, count on the best orthopedic team to turn your setbacks into comebacks. Ortho Central's comprehensive care has you covered, from expert orthopedic surgery and sports medicine to in-house imaging, physical therapy, and even a bone health clinic. So whether it's a fracture, a tear, or just life catching up with you, we're here to get you moving again. Ortho Central, it's in our bones to take care of yours. Learn more at orthocentralok.com.
From the bench to your defense, Schumacher Law Group. Former district judge and former prosecutor on your side fighting for you. With over 30 years of experience in criminal defense, divorce, and probate matters. Need to clear your record? They're the trusted experts for expungements, helping you seal your past and secure your future. Find them at lawgroupok.com. Schumacher Law Group, when experience matters.
Hi Sooner fans, this is Caitlin Smith.
And Hurley Snow with the reigning 7-time national championship OU women's gymnastics team.
The start of our season is right around the corner, and what better gift than to gift an experience for every single home meet this season. Season tickets are on sale beginning with our first home meet January 23rd.
Another awesome gift idea as we head into the holidays is to gift a Team 10 Booster Club membership, which directly supports our team. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
And as always, Boomer Sooner!
Hey, it's Teddy Lehman here. Catch myself and Tyler McComas here on The Ref every weekday afternoon from 3 to 6 on The Rush. No one covers Sooner football like we do, and there's no better way to make sure you never miss a show than by listening in on the KREF app. We might even mention where you're listening from on the Ref Army Locator. If you don't have the app, you can take the home of Sooner fans anywhere you may roam on an iPhone or Android. Just search KREF in your app store to download the app and take the Ref with you everywhere.
If you or your family and friends are looking for authentic German food owned by real Germans, look no further than Royal Bavaria. The goulash, soup, noodles, pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, and schnitzel, Royal Bavaria has something for everyone. If you're thirsty, they also have Bock, Dunkel, and all sorts of other beers. Royal Bavaria, 30 years of serving and treating everyone to authentic German food. Visit their website at royal-bavaria.com or call them for more information at 405-799-7666. Wunderbar!
In the midst of this exciting football season and return of big league hoops, don't forget, it's health insurance season. November 1st through December 15th is the only time to renew or change your individual health insurance for 2026 without a qualifying event. Due to federal changes, it's more important than ever. Allison Insurance has guided thousands of Oklahomans toward the right health insurance policy. Call Allison Insurance at 745-2968 or 800-580-5587. Allison Insurance. They are the experts.
Mike Steele here for Lasher Home Comfort Systems, your trusted home comfort experts in the Oklahoma City metro area. Tim Lasher and his team have more than 130 years of combined experience. They recognize a significant number of homeowners live with inadequate home comfort systems. They specialize in diagnosing your home system issues while providing more efficiency and reducing your utility costs. As an authorized dealer of American Standard, Tim can service your residence or business. Call Tim and his team at 405-579-3113. Lasher Home Comfort Systems.
Parker, Thune, Grayson, Singleton back to wrap up Locked In here on signing day 2025. Oklahoma inked 24 new scholarship football players today from the class of 2026. Of course, everybody wants to know what happened with Davian Gross. And, folks, one of the reasons I have immense respect for this staff and this front office, and really everybody involved at the University of Oklahoma, is that they're not going to succumb to a shakedown. They're not. And that's kind of what it became with Davian Gross. In many ways, it resembled, in the final hours, what had transpired back in July when he initially committed to Florida over Oklahoma. Is Oklahoma would get one call saying, all right, we're good. Everything's in place here. No concerns. And then they'd get another call saying, hey, let's go ahead and revisit the price point here. And so there was a time yesterday when there was a lot of confidence from the Oklahoma side that Gross was going to be a member of this class, and by the evening, OU was basically just done with the back and forth. And you know, on this show yesterday, I essentially said, I'll see it when I believe it, having been through this once before with what happened in July. And it basically was just a repeat of everything that happened in July, to the point where Oklahoma decided last night to effectively walk away. And so that's that. He signed with Florida this morning. No doubt going to be a playmaker that they utilize heavily in that offense. But that is one of, I would say, the guy that probably came the closest to signing with Oklahoma but didn't. That was the nearest miss for Oklahoma in this cycle.
And what did I say when Jim Nagy first got on board? The job of the GM is to make sure that you are properly allocating resources.
Yep.
So you don't overpay, you don't spend more money at a certain position than you need to. They've spent their money at blue chip wide receiver. You know what? If you get uncomfortable with the price point, that's for the GM and the front office to say, hey, no, I think this is going to be better utilized somewhere else.
Yeah, and I'll give Florida credit. They deserve credit because they were very motivated and acted as such to keep Davian Gross on board. And everything is a business decision these days. That's just how it is. A couple late pushes that Oklahoma made that came up just short. They lost out to Houston for Friendswood, Texas offensive lineman Noah Abibi, who was on campus just this past weekend for an OV at Oklahoma. They lost out at the literal 11th hour to Alabama for Malik Franklin, 3-star edge rusher out of Daphne, Alabama, a kid who got a last-minute offer from his dream school and jumped on it. Otherwise, he would have been in Oklahoma's class. And if we rewind and examine some of the guys that almost wound up in the class at one time or another, Grayson, it's quite a motley crew, quite an interesting list. Two guys, two highly regarded prospects that were very, very close to the point where they had silent committed to Oklahoma and just never went public. 4-star cornerback Danny Odom out of the state of Florida, and 4-star safety Jacob Eberhardt out of Kirkwood, Missouri in the St. Louis area. Eberhardt had a last-minute change of heart and decided to follow in the footsteps of his late father and play at Illinois. Of course, you understand that. Odom, man, he silent committed to OU on his official visit at the beginning of June. OU didn't want him to take any more officials, naturally, because, you get a guy of that caliber locked in. You don't want any other school being able to take a swing at him. He chose to finish out his OV slate. OU was still hopeful he would announce for them at the end of it, but no, it was Nebraska that managed to coax Odom off of his silent pledge to OU. KJ Ford, we got deep into the weeds on that recruitment, and suffice it to say, I for one am glad Oklahoma removed themselves from the equation there at a certain point. Ben Wenzel, remember him?
The linebacker, right?
3-star linebacker from the state of Wisconsin.
Committed to Wisconsin, right?
I think if Oklahoma already wasn't trending in a very favorable direction with some of their linebacker targets throughout the fall, they might have re-engaged with Ben Wenzel because, of course, Wisconsin was awful this fall. But, yes, there was a time Oklahoma looked like the destination for him. One guy, and I'm not sure how well this is known. I don't know that I've ever mentioned this. One guy that they kept in touch with long after he committed to another program and continued to let him know, hey, you can come here and we'd love to have you here and we will compensate you accordingly as a priority target for us if you want to come here. That was Braxton Lindsey out of Rogers, Arkansas.
Committed to BYU.
Yes, wound up at BYU, but Oklahoma really, really wanted Braxton Lindsey to the point where they were telling him at a certain point in the fall, you can come here and play both ways. We won't just have you moonlighting on offense and defense. You can be a legit two-way player, and if you decide you'd rather play tight end than linebacker, we'll let you do it. But in the end, wasn't enough. Lindsey's family is LDS, ties there to BYU naturally, and the Cougars wound up getting his signature. Alger Miles, Grayson's SMU Mustangs won that battle.
Did.
OU led that race for a long, long time, but in OV season, the Mustangs were able to sway him and get it done. That felt a lot more consequential at the time than it does now.
Yeah.
Now that Oklahoma landed Jasir Rogers and Jaden Petit and Daniel Odom and Xavier Okafaleze, you're not really looking over your shoulder at the fact that you almost had Alger Miles but didn't. If Oklahoma had come up short in the wide receiver room, if they'd only wound up with 2 or 3 decent dudes, then no doubt there would be a lot more hand-wringing over how that recruitment ended.
And you remember our show when we found out Alger Miles was going to go to SMU? We were like, what the hell are they going to do at wide receiver? I mean, I remember that vaguely. I mean, but no, he's a hell of a player. He's going to be a hell of a player at SMU, but Oklahoma's just fine now.
Were it not for Jonathan Hatton, Messiah Mickens would be in Oklahoma's signing class today. The former Penn State commit, longtime Penn State commit out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, was silented to OU at one time.
Mm-hmm.
OU opted for Hatton. Messiah Mickens followed James Franklin to Virginia Tech, and he signed with the Hokies today. A couple of in-state dudes that had offers and were targeted by OU very heavily at one point that wound up with other programs. 3-star offensive tackle Daniel McMorris, who chose Cal over the Sooners. And then the legacy from up in the Tulsa area, Jenks running back K.D. Jones, who I don't know if he has signed with Kansas, but he is.
I am checking on that because somebody told me earlier today that there was possibly a chance he flips back to Oklahoma State.
That wouldn't shock me, and I would like that for him if it happened. But yeah, of course, he committed to Oklahoma State back in the spring. After Gundy was fired, he flipped his commitment to Kansas and has been on track to sign with the Jayhawks, but who knows? Maybe Eric Morris and the Cowpokes have one last run in them. If you have any questions that you want answered now that the cycle is effectively over, by all means let us know on the text line at 405-651-3439.
He has not signed yet.
Okay.
According to Rivals, he is still committed but not signed.
Might be trouble in paradise there. We shall see.
You want to try to speed through as many texts and stuff as we can get?
Yeah, by all means. One text that I've seen a lot is how many of these guys are going to be early enrolling versus how many guys are showing up in June. I have been told on very good authority that there are literally only 3 summer enrollees. Everybody else is enrolling early. I have yet to reliably determine which 3 are the 3 that are enrolling on the standard timeline in June. But 21 of the 24, I know this for a fact, are going to be enrolling early in January.
Jim in Arlington on the YouTube chat says, what type of QB is Bo Bentley? Dual threat guy who can make a lot of plays with his legs, but also a big and an accurate arm, too, as well. So he presents some upside there.
I've made this comparison before. Some folks are not going to like it because of how things turned out with this guy during his time at OU, but there's a lot of Jackson Arnold in Bo Bentley.
There really is.
You would hope and expect he has it together between the ears a little bit more than Jackson Arnold did and does. I would think that's a pretty safe bet. I like Bo Bentley's makeup.
I've seen this a lot on the text line. How hard was Georgia pushing to flip Bo Bentley at the end?
It was not a conversation, and they knew it wasn't. Like, OU is Bo Bentley's dream school. He is exactly where he wants to be. There was never anything to write home about there with Georgia. Nothing at all. Once he was committed to OU, that was it. By the way, quick aside, I've never seen anything like what's going on at Penn State right now. They signed 2 prospects today. They have 2 signees, and now, per Pete Nakos of On3, the Penn State donors and boosters have apparently just had it with the coaching search and are pushing AD Pat Kraft to just remove the interim tag from Terry Smith. So basically, you engaged in 8 weeks of nonsense and lost an entire recruiting class along the way just for the bigwigs to say, we want the guy that's been the interim because clearly you have botched this beyond what anyone could have imagined.
Is this the most bungled coaching search?
It's not even close.
In college football history.
It's not even close. Yes, it's not even close.
I mean, and you fired the dude in September. And it still turned out like, I mean, whoa. You talk about some mismanagement at the highest levels.
Jason M. wants to know, what will the transfer portal bring with the Sooners' success this season? When is the next window? The portal window opens in January. Oklahoma will begin making moves. I know they're already buckling down for it in that building. We shall see. Obviously, the only portal player that they have been linked to thus far is former Oklahoma State tight end Josh Ford, who actually visited Oklahoma during the fall via the 30-day portal window that opened when Mike Gundy was fired at Oklahoma State. Brent from Jenks wants to know, do you believe we will sign any more to the class? I think it really just depends, Brent. I'm not trying to cop out here. I think it just depends on who's left that is waiting till February to sign. Because if Jim Nagy and the front office see a guy that they would love to have and a guy that they feel like can add value at Oklahoma, and he isn't signing until February and they feel like they got a window to go make a run, I have no doubt they'll do that. But if you're just gonna be dealing with leftovers, in essence, guys that you don't feel like are good enough, then you're not going to add a guy just for the sake of adding a guy.
Four-star Porter's Nemesis says, Parker, you said multiple times you expect USC's class to fall apart, but they just signed the number 1 class. What the hell, man? If I just wanted to listen to someone who didn't know what they were talking about, I'd listen to Cap.
Oh, gosh. He said, JK, love you, Parker. Yeah, man, look, they kept it together some way, somehow.
Kind of impressive.
I mean, and I think we all know it's been widely reported that Lincoln Riley is looking for an exit path at USC. So everything is not as it seems there. I will stand by that. Credit to him and his staff for being able to hold down the number 1 class, but does it mean anything in the long term with regard to the future of USC football? I am not convinced. All right, folks, that's all for a jam-packed signing day edition of Locked In. Thank you for joining us. As always, we'll do it all again tomorrow, same time, same place. For Grayson Singleton, I am Parker Thune. The Rush with Tyler and Ted is next.